Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Lunch and Learn, Unpacking the Pressure in Pick and Pack. We know your time is valuable, especially right now during peak season, so we promise to keep this session fast, focused, and full of useful insights. We've got 30 minutes on the clock, so let's jump right in. First, a quick introduction from me. My name is Neil Shaw, and I'm a senior manager here at VARGO, and today I'll also be your host. If you don't know VARGO, we're a system integrator that designs, installs, and orchestrates waveless fulfillment systems. Our solutions drive higher throughput at a lower cost per unit. And now our guest speakers. First, we have Robert Nilsson, the Chief Commercial Officer here at VARGO. Robert brings a wealth of experience in logistics and order fulfillment, helping clients apply continuous flow solutions. Robert, thank you for being here. And second, we're thrilled to welcome Xiara Platte, the Americas Business Manager for Sitma. Sitma is a leader in advanced packaging solutions focused on automation technology. Xiara, welcome. And thank you both for sharing your expertise with us today. Robert, let's start with you. What are the biggest, most disruptive challenges you are seeing across industry in this year's peak season?
Thank you, Neil. Thanks to host this event. And Xiara, I'm looking forward to the conversation with you and the team. And I want to thank everyone for taking the time here. It is a very busy time with peak season, but I think it's good to maybe listening from our experiences here and see what you're experiencing right now in your peak season. Before jumping into the issues that we want to converse around, let me also share some latest and greatest information. The VARGO network of customers in the US, I just looked at the latest volume. And if you compare peak right now to date, as of today, it's up about 11% over 2024. So that's good for all of us. And it confirms what you probably are reading in the media, where different retailers have started to disclose certain volume expectations they had over Black Friday, Thanksgiving, and so forth. If you look at the latest forecast, and this is a key takeaway from the webinar here, that these are planning assumptions that you can really take to the bank. I'm an ex-hockey player. It's a very predictable growth curve going in front of us here as far as the eye can see. So we are just passing 33 billion parcel packages annually in the US market today. And that's going to grow at 7 to 8% compounded annually. So in 2030, 5 years out, we're going to be north of 45 billion parcel packages. These are packages that reaches your home. So that is a significant volume for us to deal with, not just the feelings you have this year, but for the foreseeable future. The last two things that have happened lately that you also need to kind of have front and center. Rest of the world have had customs and tariffs on small packages below $800. US being the largest market in the world is not implementing what the rest of the world is having, that they will have tariffs or customs, if you will, on $800 packages to a US consumer. So that volume needs to either be warehoused and picked, packed, and shipped inside the United States, or people will not buy those products from overseas and have alternative products being bought inside the US. The end result of this will be more volumes, and I don't think it's worked into those forecasts that I just mentioned. Last but not least, we all know our consumer behaviors there. Returns are here to stay, and I think it's at double-digit percentages, and that has to be worked back into your workflows and your volumes as well. So that being said, I will start here with Xiara to debate some of these issues, but the throughput constraint that you see here in the picture, but how you're all feeling right now is you have different workflows. You might be batching your singles. How do you handle manually your multiple orders? You're doing direct to the consumer and retail fulfillment in the same building. The big issue here is you have disparate workflows. These constraints are significant. So that is something that we're seeing. Over to you, Xiara, on that topic of throughputs.
Yeah, so a lot of our customers in the throughput constraints, you're going into peak, maybe you're doing 20% of your overall volume in 5 weeks, 6 weeks. So manual packing might work for the rest of the time, but when you're only getting 60 to 80 packs through a manual workstation, you really can't get that volume out in such a limited amount of time. So it's really becoming an issue with customers. Either you have to hire additional labor, which I know a lot of you guys are probably seeing that. Maybe you're doubling, tripling, even more your labor to get the products out the building. And that kind of streams into our labor and availability issues. So if you have to find double to 3 times your workforce, I'm sure you're struggling during normal period to get workers. So trying to double that in maybe a month, 2 months can be really, really, really difficult. I know that especially on pack out, because you have limited space, you have to, if you're getting 60 an hour and say you need to double, triple that, it's probably not just double or triple the people in that specific area. You really have to account for a lot of different call outs through, maybe it's 3 shifts with double the amount of people. And then that kind of goes into that overtime. So are you paying overtime if you can't fill those labor requirements? So that's just specifically on the pack out side too. So when you look at it from a broader scale, as Robert has a lot of experience with, what are you seeing for the labor availability through the whole plant?
Yeah, this is another one that you can put in all your plans for the next 3 to 5 years. The labor availability it's more than ever an avalanche coming. So what has happened now after we have normalized, COVID took about 5 years. We get into COVID and then we got out of COVID. But if you look at, getting back to normal times now, 5 years later, what has happened? Wage parity is front and center. So all non-farm payroll jobs. So everything that's manufacturing, what we talk about here, distribution center, hospitality, restaurants, are almost all paying about the same. And that has gone up from maybe in the 20s, $25 loaded labor rates to probably passing $35. So the labor is going to make choices on where they go. And I think worker satisfaction and how you're partnering with your labor is going to be huge. So these other techniques.
So Robert, sorry, just want to make sure I heard that right. So what you're saying is where labor used to be from a pay standpoint, we used to be able to track labor. Now it's a little bit more competitive. And so where we used to be able to pay a few dollars more for labor, there's parity there. And so that advantage goes away.
Yeah, so those 3 ginormous sectors, manufacturing, distribution center jobs, and hospitality and service, are also paying about the same. So what this leads to is, going into COVID, we probably had 700,000-800,000 jobs open that we could not fill, right? And that's why you have also a big push on temp labor, right? So now you take these 4 sectors, you have 7 million job openings. This just came out of the labor statistics area. So that puts an enormous pressure on this. So you have to look at labor as a resource and partner with that resource. So when we say reduce labor, reduce cost, it's never going to account for layoffs or cutting people, but you want people that you need to increase your throughput, being part of automation, that they actually will work for you. So this is it's a major issue, and it's front and center now. And that's my input on the labor availability piece. Over to you on space there, Xiara.
Yeah, so when you increase your labor for pack out, you also need space to pack those. When you're doing manual packing, everyone has to have their own pack station. And you see this, they're large, they're cumbersome, and they take up so much space. I always refer to it as a sea of pack stations when you walk into a manual operation, and you're not really getting the value for the footprint. So you have to increase that sea if you want to be able to hold the amount of people that you need. And it's pretty linear. It is not exponential. And so you are in a lot of limited space. It's harder to get to grow in certain areas. I know a lot of people, you can't get a bigger space. Maybe you're in the maximum size building, either you can afford or you're allowed to have in the area. You want to stay local if it's a part of your brand identity. Maybe you can't find a larger facility. So you really have to make your space work for you, and expanding things like pack stations, you're just not getting that value for your footprint. And so I know that that's, again, just on the pack out side. When you look at a larger scale and you're looking at how you're getting the products to pack out, there's a lot of space used, and I'm going to say wasted, when you're not using an automated workflow. So I know, Robert, you see this in DCs before you guys go in.
Yeah, when we're talking to the leadership, and if it's one distribution center or if they have a network of distribution center, I consider them a little bit landlocked. And why did this happen? We had an overbuilt of space during COVID, but then with inflation and interest rates, it ground to a halt to actually buy new buildings, set up new buildings. And even going forward, then the capital expenditure to commit to another building is very, very significant. So ROI drives everything, right? So we're hearing from our customers, hey, I need to get more throughput through the existing footprint that I have in my existing building. I might also want to free up space in the existing building so I can increase inventory coming in, meaning they might have inventory offsite. So if you think about inventory, that you don't have active inventory to fulfill an order, it have to come from offsite into your building. So it's the latest trend that I'm seeing. People are really focused right now to get offsite inventory into that current active inventory in their current building. So yeah, so throughput in existing footprint is what people are really focused on. Your example on pack out, a CEO of stations that are manual, that frees up a lot of space there. So we're going to go into integrating, pick, pack, and ship, how this really can help the space situation as well. What about on errors and things like that? If you start integrating order fulfillment here, Xiara, what do you see there?
Yeah, so error is always a problem when you're doing any type of manual touch points for packaging. When you go into peak time, when your volume's double, tripling, and you're trying to get a lot out very quickly, that increases the stress on the person packing, the stress on the system, and it really results in more errors going to customers. So maybe it's the wrong invoice in the package. Maybe it's the wrong product going to a customer because something wasn't scanned properly, especially with multi, something gets out of order. Those error rates increase. So then that goes back to the returns that we talked about earlier. Those are increasing. When you send out your 20% of your volume in 5 weeks, you don't want 10 to 15 of that coming back to your building. So then you have to reprocess it and then get it back out to customers again. So error rates really can become a problem when it's also temp labor. So you've just trained people. Maybe you took a couple weeks. They're definitely not your standard employees, and you have them trying to pack out. It doesn't seem very complicated, but manual touch points when you're not as well trained can really result in issues going to customers. Hopefully for e-commerce, it's nothing confidential. You're not going to have any issues with like bank cards, bank numbers going to people, but you still want to get the right products to the right people.
Great, Xiara, Robert. Those are some great challenges that you guys are seeing with, some of our viewers and some of our customers and prospects out there. Because from a time standpoint, we only have 30 minutes. I do want to go to what some of the solutions are, right? I'm sure the viewers today want to see that as well. So let's start with you, Robert. What are some of the solutions that you're seeing, with VARGO, and how to help customers get through peak?
Yeah, that's a great introduction here. We're going to talk about how to implement this, and I will also share a couple of case studies here. But the key here is to integrate pick, pack, and ship. I would call that order fulfillment. And I think the key here is a couple of key points. One is aligning these workflows, and basically is producing singles and multiples to pack out, or end-of-line packaging, but with automated packaging, to be able to have those flows coming to packaging in an organized fashion, in our case, waveless, so you don't batching singles orders or batching multiple orders. They're coming in a waveless continuous flow. Those are very, very high values to get a constant flow, appropriate flow from the pick sequencing and organizing the matching for the multiples, and then interjecting singles and feeding that to a packaging machine like the Sitma machine. It has significant values to get throughput up. You take out all those manual pack stations that you might have for multiples, for example, and you're also running these steps at an appropriate speed. The picker's working basically at the appropriate speed for all these steps to take in effect. That's what I call set the pace, right? That's what waveless is. Continuous flow, real-time processing, all means that same thing. The alternative is what you're seeing when you're batching singles, getting it over to a packaging machine. That machine then have to run at extreme high speed for maybe a short period of time, 4 or 5 hours, versus running 12, 18 hours at an appropriate speed. But that's how you start getting the throughput in the building. And by doing the waveless, you're balancing the automation and the labor. So I just give you 2 scenarios here. One would be that you don't have a storage system, so you work with a unit sortation like a Eurosort, and then we have speed pack stations coming off of that to organize and match the multiple orders, and then laborers are working on those cells and then bring that over to packaging. Another way of doing this, if you have a storage system like an auto store, a little bit less labor there, less footprint, but a little higher capital investment. Again, you come out there with then singles and multiples feeding the packaging automation. But the key here, having a balance, and the software is dynamically organizing this. So the labor is not making the decision, I need more work. If a worker walks away, we stop feeding that labor, etc. But the key to higher throughput in the building for these multiple steps is to constantly running the automation and the labor that's available, and adjust when a labor goes away or gets added, running at the appropriate speed. That is how you get these dynamic improvements in your building. And I think I can go into the 2 case studies here, Neil, as well.
Before I advance the slide, so just we saw some questions come in through the Q&A. So okay. we're gonna hold the questions to the end, but I encourage you, if you guys have questions, go ahead and put them in. We'll get to them here in a few minutes.
Great. So this is a journey, customer. We've been doing business with Gap for a decade now, and I'm giving you 2 examples here. This is one building's peak daily throughput, very high percentage throughput. This happens to be in Columbus here, and this building is using. I just lost the slide there, Neil. Oh, thank you. It's using unit sortation, two unit sortations with 2 types of what we call speed pack coming out of those unit sortation for the multiples. One would be kind of manual, low automation put walls. Then we add them along the unit sortations, 12, 13, 16 station, if you will, or a high density OPEX surcharge system that can have 1 speed pack station from our Kofi software in a very dense footprint to get the multiple orders, and then getting that over to pack out, and singles are continuously going to the pack out as well, packaging automation. And when you're looking at their 10 buildings now, it's a journey over 10 years and 10 buildings, round numbers there. They're basically getting this kind of capacity throughput in their network, and that volume has grown. I just give you a stat that happened right now. Their temp labor over 10 buildings right now is down 3,000 people, their temp labor over 10 buildings, and they're producing more throughput this year than last year. So here you start seeing the scaling effect of handling the throughput through these integrated steps.
Robert, I want to just repeat that, make sure I heard it, because that's a pretty important fact you threw out there. So based on optimization over these 10 buildings, you said that they increased throughput, but this year used 3,000 less temp laborers than previous years?
Correct. It's very common practice that retailers announce how much temp labor they're going to use over the peak. But yeah, we just got that word the other day. So we are doing more volume in the Gap network over peak. Like I told you, most customers are increasing this year over last year, and they get the more throughput with less people. And in this case, there's no laying off employees and so forth. The final stat I give you for Gap, over this 10-year period, they used to have 10,000 people in the fulfillment centers, and they're now at 5,000 10 years later with not one single layoff, and turnover is 2%. So these are pretty impressive statistics if you look at the market overall, at labor going from one employer across the street to another. That's a sustainable way to start addressing your volume requirements over the years in front of you.
That's amazing. Hey, Robert, a quick time check. We have 7 minutes. We have a few more slides. Let's do a quick overview of the next client we want to highlight. And then I do want to get to Xiara to talk about solutions around, pack solutions specifically.
Thank you, Neil. So the point that I just want to make on this one, on a workflow where you have direct to the consumer and retail fulfillment in the same building, we organize even those workflows. And these are the one building throughputs we have with a long-standing customer of American Eagles. And again, we have these customers available for visits, but also think about omnichannel in the same building. So that being said, let's go over to Xiara.
All right, great. Xiara, let's hand it over to you.
Awesome. So yeah, specifically with the bottlenecks during peak and during the whole season with packaging, the next logical step is packaging automation. And we have automation that scales. So we're able to reduce complexity in your packaging systems. You can send it right to our system, place it on a belt, and we handle the rest. It reduces those touch points, it improves the accuracy, and it increases your capacity. So you can go from 4 people packing 60 each, so 240 packages an hour, to 1,600 packages an hour. So really increasing that throughput while taking up much less space than what your current pack stations may be taking up. And we're driving predictable performance. So it's an automated system. It's very trackable. You know when your system's going to be up. It's very high uptime. And you're able to get, like I said, more packages through, scheduled maintenance. You're not really concerned about call outs on a snow day for your DC, because as long as you can get a couple people in, you can still run this system and you can run it well. I'll dive right into our case study on the next slide, because I can talk through that a little bit more. So when you implement automated packaging, like I said, you can take your items, it can be singles, it can be multiples, it can all be directed to one location, placed on a belt, and we can do everything from scanning, inserting the invoices, wrapping, adding a logo to the package if needed, and then placing a label on it and getting it out the door. So you're able to increase your throughput to, like I said, that 1,600, in some cases up to 3,000, while tracking everything. So you're going to reduce, possibly even eliminate those wrong packages to the wrong person. So that really helps come January, when that return season is high, you're going to see that decrease significantly. And then you're able to see labor savings. So our customers have seen 10% labor savings per package while having net neutral material cost going from poly to paper. So one of the other big conversations we're seeing is sustainability. Whether you're in Europe or the US, there are a lot more government regulations in Europe. The US is starting to follow. And so we're able to have you switch to a more sustainable, recyclable material that may align more closely with your brand and your brand messaging, while not increasing your package price by $1 million a year. We can keep that pretty net neutral, which is really exciting as we're starting to move into a more environmentally conscious environment. And then also your ROI. So when you implement this, it's not going to take years and years. for that return on investment, you're going to see it likely in under a year. So we can extend your building life, we can decrease the amount of space we're using in your facility, and increase that throughput.
Awesome.
Right.
Xiara, that's a great case study there. So thank you for sharing. Robert, thank you for sharing your example as well. We have a few minutes left. There are a few questions out there. I do want to get to this from Tom Jacobson. So how do you handle multiples and waveless processing? And I know you touched on that a little bit, Robert, but can you talk about that again, please?
Yeah, basically, there's two ways to handle this, but again, it's a continuous flow of orders. We're pulling the orders. That's what waveless is. And then basically, we're looking at the singles. We're continuously processing them. We're not holding them, batching them, getting into the packaging. Then there's two ways of handling the waveless for the multiples. Basically, unit sortation. That means you're doing it without a storage system, and we are basically matching and consolidating those multiple orders into cubbies if it's low automation put walls, then go to packaging continuously, or through a high density open OPEX source systems. One speed pack station can enable a lot of multiple orders being consolidated. That's basically how we deal with the waveless implementation. But the key here is all we need is a simple interface to WMS systems. Basically, the basic thing about inventory and the order pool. And we basically get the order pool from a WMS, and we're holding it to that is demand for that order. And when we have demand for that order, we process it, but we send it to what's available out there. But we want equipment and labor, including packaging, to be continuously running. But it's not in a high speed, wave, huge wave going through the process, Neil.
Okay, thank you. Another question just came in. It's from Patrick. Is this proposal from Sitma CapEx or OpEx on the base model, such as rental? So I think this one is for you, Xiara.
Yeah, so the case study that I presented, that was a CapEx purchase. We do offer both, but CapEx is typically the way that our customers go.
Great, thank you. Let's go to, and I think you might touch on this a little bit, Xiara, but about these regulations, or how are regulations moving up the need for automation in general? And Robert, obviously, feel free to chime in here as well.
Yeah, so a lot of sustainability regulations are increasing the need for automation. As I mentioned earlier, we're able to help you stay really, really close to that poly cheap, as we see it, material cost with automation. So instead of switching to what everyone considers paper to be more expensive, we're able to have automation that makes it more cost effective. So then when things like in the US, you have your extended producer responsibilities in some states where you're getting taxed based on what material you're sending your products out to customers in. So when that comes into play, you can really, really save a lot on tax benefits when you're shipping out more sustainable materials. And automation has really changed that conversation and how brands can do that. They can do it effectively, and it doesn't have to be a huge cost center for your business.
Great, thank you, Xiara.
Yeah, I would just add
go ahead, Robert.
Quickly there, Neil. If you're looking at this integrated process, pick, pack, and ship, and the automation of packaging, think about what you're doing. You're basically making the order and the package all in one swoop. The benefit of that is ginormous in an OpEx environment and usage of material. And you don't have to store a material handling, manual boxes, taking up floor space. We talked about floor space before, right? People want product in their buildings and not in offsite things. So there's enormous circular economy benefits by making the product and the order and the package all together in one continuous flow.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Xiara. We are at the half hour, so we will close the discussion. Robert, Xiara, a big thank you for your time today. Just to let everyone know, if you're interested in further discussions, you can reach out to Robert or Xiara on LinkedIn, or I'm going to send a follow-up email after this with a PDF of the slides so you have them. And Robert and Xiara's contact information will be on that, so you can connect them via email as well. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us and good luck with the rest of peak season.